I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending August the 24th, where the bulls are just going to have to wait a little bit longer. We've got a ton of positive fundamental news as we get through the last of these heavy market ready supplies. We're looking at lighter numbers coming down the road. We've still got this outstanding demand, both domestic and for export, and everything's rolling really good. Cheap import inputs, of course, because your grains are pretty depressed right now, and we got another near record crop coming in. But it spells all good for the cattle market, and but it's just gonna have to wait a little bit. We had some negative things come out. The cattle on feed report was a little bit bearish. If you look at the numbers on there, the inventories on feed August the 1st, 104.6 is what they come out to be. Your average of the analyst guess was 104.4, so it was just 0.2 of a percentage point, nothing. But the way it come out in a lot of the media was 105 because of rounding, and it made it look a little more bearish than what it was. Now your placements were bearish. 107.8 is what it come out to be, and 105.5 was what everybody was expecting. So, but your placements are usually pretty volatile, so we're kind of used to that. But nevertheless, leaning on the bearish side. Of course, the marketings during July were nailed at 104.9. But if you look at some of the analysis on some of those numbers, that on feed total was 11.1 million head. And then they say that's a record for the August 1st inventory since the series began. Almost every single cattle on feed report has something that's a record since the series began, which it was only 1996. I know that's quite a while ago, but you can't get too excited about that. We've got some kind of a record since the series began every month. But it might take note that 11.1 million on feed was less than July 1st inventory. So we're whittling down on them a little bit. Of course, we know that we are. You look at your placements. Now the placements were a lot heavier in comparison to a year ago on the lighter weight cattle. It was 12% more weighing under 800 pounds than the same report a year ago. And that means less numbers of cattle weighing over 8. So we're going to get, so when we get through this market ready supply, then our on feed inventories are going to be pretty green. We should be able to recover quite a bit in the fourth quarter, and everybody's looking forward to that. But nevertheless, your placements are larger, and they've been larger 19 out of the last 20 cattle on feed reports. Now that also tells you that the worm's going to turn here one of these days too, because a lot of the reason that those placements are higher is because they're are heifers, and if we haven't been keeping any heifers now going on 2 years, well then our numbers are going to start getting lighter, and we know that. We've had major drought in several major production areas over the last couple of years. Last summer it was up in North Dakota, Montana areas, southern Alberta. This year it's been through the heartland, northern Missouri, southern Iowa, places like that. And it's really going to start taking a toll, and we're going to have lighter numbers of calves. I still think we're going to get back to some of those high prices on calves next spring. Not this fall yet, but there could be some pretty high prices in comparison this fall for some grazing type cattle, because it looks like we're going to have a decent, anyway, early prospect of wheat grazing, because we've had a lot of moisture down here in the southern plains, where they plant a lot of that hard red winter wheat for grazing, and there's going to be enough ground moisture to at least get it up good. Now what happens after that, you never know. Let's look at the board for last week. October live cattle, Monday was down 42, Tuesday up 2 cents, Wednesday down $1.57, Thursday down 17, and then Friday down $2.02, with October live cattle ending the week at 106.70, down $2.02. Your spot August, which is not very heavily traded anymore, we're getting so deep in the month, it closed or ended the week at 106.25, down $1.70. And you look at that, 106.25 at the end of the month. on a week where we ended up trading a lot of cattle at 109. So still got that basis, and you're not hearing a lot of complaints out of your hedged cattle feeders. But October feeder cattle board, Monday was down 57, Tuesday down 35, Wednesday down $2.30, Thursday up 17 cents, and Friday down 207 with October feeders. Ended the week at 146.72, down $2.08. But the spot August ended the week at 149.20, actually up 18 cents. And but the reason it had to do that, it's got to come together here with your cash index levels, and suddenly your cash feeders are trading at a premium to what the board is, and that we haven't seen that for quite a while, but they'll come together here this week. Your fat cattle trade through Thursday of last week, and might have been a little bit of cleanup business on Friday, but they had done the lion's share of the trading on Wednesday and Thursday. But through Thursday, 92,200 head in your 5-area feeding region. Your southern plains settled in at 109. Your northern plains was anywhere from 108 to 109.5. A lot of those 108 cattle were up in northeastern Nebraska, over in the northern parts of Iowa, and then passing a lot of cattle on the way to southwest Kansas for their slaughter. And by the time they got them down there, they had a lot more in them than what they could have bought local cattle for. But it's just everybody's strategy. But through Thursday, your weighted average in your 5-area feeding region was 109.08. That was about 44 cents lower than what the weighted average for the week's trade was the week before. Your dressed steers 173 to 174, both steers and heifers, but your dressed steer weighted average ended up at 172.82, down 34 cents, so about 173 for most sales on a dress basis. Box beef cutout values were good. At one point through the week, we had some of the highest choice cuts as we've seen for many weeks since early this summer, back in June. Your slaughter was down a little bit. We talked about cooler cleaning, and evidently they did do that, but not until late in the week. But 636,000 for last week's slaughter. That was 24,000 less than that huge slaughter we saw the week before, and 9,000 less than the same week a year ago. But they're also cleaning those coolers in another way. We had another big week of beef exports, over 20,000 metric tons for the second week in a row, and that is a big volume there. But year to date, we're nearly 20% up on beef exports, and that's where it is saving this market. We had some heavy numbers to get through this summer, and we've pretty much got through them. And I know the market might be down a little bit, but it could have been a wreck, guys, and it wasn't. But let's look at your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on the Cattle Market Central there, late in the week to end the week at 150.03. That was actually up $2.26 compared to the end of the previous week. And you think, well, I didn't think feeders were selling that good. Well, late in the week, of course, they kind of turned, especially on Friday afternoon after the cattle on feed report. But it was pretty good there, actually. Early in the week it started out higher, and then we had some more of those barbecue specials up in the northern plains with some of those big prices, especially Bassett, Nebraska. We had Creston, Iowa. We had Tecumseh. We had a lot of places sell some cattle pretty high, and they all go in that index, and it made the index higher for the week. But your cash feeders, your trends pretty much through the sale barns there were unevenly steady to $3 higher. And we talked about the reasons they were unevenly steady, and it did kind of start out high and then back off later in the week as far as your trends compared to the previous week. But for the most part, everything was up. Your full advance was on your heifers in the southern plains, as we're still trying to see them catch up. They got to be kind of a wide spread between the steers and the heifers, but your guys that do feed heifers noticed that, and they came in and picked that up. So we saw the full advance on feeder heifers, and we also saw the full advance on 9-weight steers. Good demand for 9-weight steers, especially late in the week. But Bluegrass Stockyards held their big barbecue special, and it was very unfortunate timing for them Because you never know what's going to happen. These markets are so volatile anymore. You know, I remember a day not that long ago whenever if the feeder cattle market moved $1 or $2 within a week, that was a major move. Now it could move that much within a sale, within one afternoon. But Bluegrass Stockyards, they did have 7,300 head there. Most all of those cattle were local cattle, but they did come from 12 different states. You look at these cattle right here, those cattle come from Ohio. A guy named Phil Webb sold his big steers on there, and look how nice they are. He had a load of 950-pound steers there. They bring 136 1/4. You look at a market on Saturday, actually, just a commodity market there at Fort Scott, Kansas. It's not going to be completely out of bed, so you can tell that by Saturday. We knew everything that had happened through the week by then, and they sold a string of big steers, 127 head of them, weighed 797, or about as close to 800 pounds as you can get, at 147.35. And then Bluegrass at Richmond, an on-site sale, Jim Doss's sale there. You know, that was the first cattle of the morning, because they're on the east side, and they're on the Eastern time, and then that's before a lot of people get up out west. And those are some of the first loads of the week that you're seeing quoted here at Bluegrass Richmond. First crack out of the gate, 120 steers there in the ring, weighed 910 pounds at 144.40. That's a look at your week's markets from a Home Depot auction office here in Canyon, Texas. We'll talk to you next week.